All right, so we are back. We just did our energy exchange where we found out that the energy we would most benefit from releasing today was the energy of illness, and the energy that would most benefit us to call in its place is the energy of life. Life, you know, that energy that is in the trees right now, the energy that is in the rivers, the energy that is in the sky and the birds and all that is, can we call that in the place where that illness was living? And oftentimes that energy of illness can be the energy of deficit, the energy of lack. It's not necessarily just a negative energy that is like a palpable thing. It might actually be just a lack of life force, a lack of energy. And because you're lacking this life force, that is why you feel ill. And this could be applied to anybody who has been struggling with symptoms that make no sense. You don't feel good, you keep going to the doctor and they can't figure out what's wrong with you. Maybe this is for you today. And again, I make no promises. I have nothing on my website or anywhere that you will ever find of me saying that I have a miracle pill for you. That's not what this is, but this is an exploration. This is an exploration of understanding what might be going on under the surface, what might be blocking us to our health, our wellness, from feeling like our best selves. And then once we have that information, we can say a prayer, we can ask Spirit to clear it, we can connect to our higher selves, our guides, whoever it is that we connect with to, you know, ask for assistance, ask for help. And then we can also see some things that maybe on a conscious level, we can start changing about our lives to make drawing in that life force easier and to make it easier also for us to release that feeling, that energy of illness. So that's what we're going to do today. Now we do that by going back to my dowsing charts. Taking that very same pendulum who's just been over here spinning on the side, doing some work behind the scenes. And we go to our very first chart. This is our chart that basically tells us where do we go next. It's an index. It is the chart that guides us to the next thing. And then we come back to the first chart and then we go to the next thing. And it's sort of this, someday I'm going to think of like the perfect word for it because I don't think index is quite it, but it's our guidepost. It tells us where we need to go to find the information we need to be able to do this work today. So we're going to go to the first chart it guided me to, and we're going to say, what's going on here? What is going on here around this illness? Okay, so this is the past life chart. Okay, so this is the chart that sort of tells us what characters might have been involved in this past life that is creating this energy of illness. So who was present in this past life where this energy of illness first took hold inside of us as a spirit? And it can tell us, again, who was there, what kind of programming or what kind of situation created this energy of illness. And then sometimes it also talks about like kind of where in the realms this existed. For us, when we talk about a past life, we think of that as behind us, something that happened before. And in the spirit realms, there is no real linear time the way that we understand it with the human mind, the way that we track it in this reality, like yesterday is behind me, tomorrow is ahead of me. That's not really how this works. In SRT and in kind of the Akashic record is what we're looking at right now. So let's just see what this chart has to tell us. So the first thing that came up is that there was a female energy here. There was a female energy here that was a part of this illness getting imprinted into our being, into our spirit. There was a family member there. It was a family dynamic, a group dynamic probably. And then there was also a grandparent energy. So there's a female energy, a grandparent energy, and a family, a whole family unit vibe. And so I'm going to say, who were we in this dynamic? So who were we in this dynamic? We were the female energy. And then who was harmed? We were the female. And who did the harming? Who was the one that hurt us? The grandparent. The grandparent. So there's a grandparent energy in a past life that hurt us as the female. And I'm going to ask, was this physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual harm that was done? So I ask physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And I asked that with my pendulum. It was spiritual harm that was done that created this feeling of illness. So there was spiritual harm done by the grandparent to us as the female entity, and it was spiritual in nature. And then I'm going to ask one more time, is there anything else we need to know about the particular program? It was inherited. So an inheritance program, this is almost like the grandparent, I don't think necessarily knew intentionally that they were doing you harm, but it might be that they gifted you this idea that illness runs in the family. that illness is just part of your birthright, that we all just have this particular illness, and so that should just stick with you. And again, this is saying it was sort of like spiritual harm that was done. And so that could also be that the vibe was, we are all sinners and we've all fallen short of the glory of God. And so you are inherently bad and ill, and you don't have beautiful life force flowing through you because you are ill spiritually. You are bad spiritually. So that could also be part of what's going on here. And so I'm just saying, spirit, clear it. And certain things, like with the Akashic record, we can just say, spirit, clear it. Like, clear out that vibe, clear out that energy, clear out the programming, that belief system that we are just inherently ill, that we are just inherently bad. And that's what I'm picking up right now, is it's mostly about that. It's this belief that we are inherently bad. And that is creating this deficit of life force inside of us. And I'm sure that that's part of what's blocking us to receiving life force. If you think that you are bad and unworthy, are you really going to be open to accepting good, wonderful life force to flow through you? Most likely not. And if this was something that was passed down to you through the generations of your very soul, you know, you at a certain point picked up this program of we are ill, we are bad, it is still influencing you. So we're just asking it for it to be cleared. And again, you can say to yourself right now, I release myself from any program that I was given in any lifetime that told me I was bad, naughty, unworthy. I release any program my soul is hanging on to that's telling me that I'm not worthy of new life, of goodness to flow through my being. And I wanted an exhale, so that's a good sign for me. Okay, we're gonna go back to our first chart now that we got all that out of the way. We're gonna go back to the first chart, and I think I'm gonna focus really on the block to removing this energy of illness, the block to life. So let's look at the block to life. So what's going on here with the block to life? My pendulum was already trying to tell me. And so is this my first chart 11 or my other chart 11? So I wrote down on I have a built-in kind of chart called chart 11, and it was the one that was designed through this thing called spiritual response technique. Well, I wrote down on that very same chart all of the astrological signs, just because I find it interesting to see if there's a way for me to get, you know, more information that wasn't originally on the charts. And so that's what I'm doing right now. Oh, that's so interesting. So Scorpio energy is coming up. And so if there's anybody right now who is a Scorpio who is feeling this especially hard, or if you have strong Scorpio placements in your chart, doesn't necessarily have to be your sun, but if you have any of your personal planets in Scorpio, your south node, your north node, your vertex, anti-vertex, anything that would indicate that this might be for you. Hi, me too. I have a lot in Scorpio. So this might be for you. The other thing here with the Scorpio energy coming up is transformation. You know, Scorpio for me is the sign that best represents transformation. We are the phoenix, right? We are the phoenix that rises from the ashes. We are, you know, we are a being that has to shed its exoskeleton in order to grow. You know, we are a being that is well known for birth, life, you know, death and rebirth, cycles of death and rebirth. Ooh, here we go. I'm picking up on something here. So I'm going to ask a percentage question. I have numbers from 0 to 100% on my charts. And I'm going to say, what percent is the collective open to transforming from illness into life? 0%. So that's why the Scorpio thing is coming up. Maybe because, hi, you're a Scorpio and you also relate to this right now. And also because we are blocked to that transformational energy. We are blocked to allowing this programming of illness to die so that new life can come in. So this is just saying we're not open at all to that process, to the transformation process, from releasing that past life energy of illness and you're bad and you're not good and you're not worthy enough of life, to this new version of ourselves that believes we are worthy. So what can we do to help support that? What can we do to help us unblock ourselves to that life and unblock ourselves to transformation? Grandma's good advice. If you've seen my clearings before, you know that Grandma's good advice is what I call this chart. This chart's actually called How to Change Your Life, but I like to call it Grandma's good advice because it's just like basic good advice. It's like, yeah, why don't you help me me figure out what could be going on here. So the chart says practice orderly thinking, which to me doesn't have to be totally literal, but what I'm reading that as is it's stuck somewhere in your mind. You're not practicing orderly thinking when it comes to the way in which you can and should allow yourself to go through a transformation process. Or perhaps you're thinking overly orderly. Okay, that's interesting. So what percent of this is actually, I'll just ask a yes or no, or a direct question. So is this about, it would benefit us to practice orderly thinking, or it would benefit us to let go of being inside of such orderly thinking? So which one is it? Yeah, that one. That's what I was starting to lean towards as I was speaking. So yeah, so it's actually not benefiting us to be so ordered in our thinking. It's actually not benefiting us to be so black and white, like, no, this is just the way that it is. I just have this illness. This was just passed down to me. This is just how it is. And it's this way, and it's this way, and it's this way. That's what's keeping you stuck from transforming. So you need to stop practicing such orderly thinking. You need to stop being so addicted to logic. You need to stop being so stuck in your mind as to how things just are. This is just the way it has to be. I talk about this all the time in my clearings. It does not benefit you when you are stuck in thoughts that say, well, this is just the way that it is. I'm just not musically inclined. I'll never learn how to play the piano. I'm just not, an athlete. I will never be able to, run a marathon. I am just an unworthy little creature. I am not worthy of health and wellness and life force to be flowing through me. I am just this. That's the thinking we're going to clear right now. And again, I'm going to say as part of my prayer, Spirit, clear it. But what you can do is you can catch yourself. Anytime you see or sense or hear yourself saying something like, I am just this, or I am just that, cut it out. Notice it. Don't judge it. Don't get mad at yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be like, oh my gosh, you're so stupid. It's not that. It's just make note of it. Oh, okay, wow, yeah, that's what Kate was talking about. I just heard myself say, oh, well, I can't do that because this is just the way that it is. Or this won't happen because this is just the way that it is. My grandfather, again, from this past life said, this is just the way that it is. We are just bad, wrong, evil, unworthy of health, beautiful life, etc. So make note of it. And then when you make note of it, when you observe it, not from a place of judgment, from a place of awareness, you can look at it and go, what percent is that actually true? And you can get yourself a pendulum, and you can get yourself a 0 to 100% chart. You don't have to buy it, right? Get a piece of paper on a half of an arc, right? So similar to this, get a half of an arc, and on one side write 0, and on the other side write 100. Find anything, a necklace, I have used a chain of paper clips before attached to something that was just heavier than the paper clips. Attach it to a pair of keys, attach it to anything that you can kind of hang off of. That's what a pendulum is, right? A pendulum is, here's the heavier bit than this thing that I'm holding, and it's strung off of anything. You can string it again off of paper clips. You can string it off of a piece of string. You can string it off of a chain. Anything where the bottom is heavier, which is allowing that movement to happen, right? And so it's allowing this pendulum to sort of follow the flow of energy that's coming through my hand. And I don't know if you can tell right now, but the pendulum is definitely doing some things all on its own. And it's just going forward and back, forward and back. And so ask, what percent is this belief benefiting me? What percent is this belief even true? What percent is this belief even true? What percent is it true that this collective is unworthy of health, wellness, and life force? 0%. So that's my 0% down here by this thumb. That's 0% true. So the next time you have those thoughts, think about doing that. And if you don't want to use a pendulum, you don't have to, but just get a gut check. Think about the first number that pops into your head. What's the first number that pops into your head when you say, well, what percent is it true that I can't have this thing that I really think I want to have? Or that I'm not capable of doing this thing I think I'm capable of? Or that I'm just bound to illness for the rest of my life? And again, I'm not trying to say that some of us don't just have illnesses, health issues, whatever. This is more about like the energy of it that's stuck inside of us, and the energy of unworthiness that's stuck inside of us that is creating that lack of life force. That's really what I'm talking about here. Not necessarily talking about somebody who has Crohn's disease. You're not going to wake up and suddenly not have Crohn's disease anymore because you asked what percentage that was true. You know, although I have heard of miraculous recoveries, but, you know, we're not talking about that right now. It's more about this belief system around the worthiness of having life force flowing through you. Your worthiness of having zest and joy and energy and fullness inside of your body instead of depletion. So that's what we're looking at right now. All right, so now what percent, now that we looked at that, what percent are we open to having this life force flow through us? 50%. So I'm right up and down my middle here as 50%. So what else can we do to help unblock us to this life force, unblock us to feeling like we can and do deserve to have, you know, this life force just flowing through us? So we're looking at potentially some archetypes here, although there could be something else going on. Wisdom. The wisdom of Jesus, that's what's on here. If you don't resonate with Jesus as a symbolic figure, that's okay. We're just going to talk right now about wisdom. So I think what it is like we're just blocked to our wisdom is all that it is. So what percent are we open to our own wisdom? 0%. So we're open 0% to our own wisdom. So we just need to unblock ourselves. First of all, we can just say, Spirit, clear it, as always. And then we can say, I release myself from anything that is blocking me to my wisdom. I release myself from any patterns, habits, addictions, attractions, attachments that are blocking me to my wisdom. Because you know that's the truth, right? If you're blocked to your wisdom, it's because of habits, patterns, addictions, attractions, attachments. I am attached to this thing, and this thing is blocking me to my wisdom. Your wisdom is there. Hopefully for most of us, your wisdom is there. You're just blocked to it because you have this thing getting in the way. And so we're releasing ourselves from that now. We're clearing it out of the way. And then I'm going to ask, is there anything else on the charts that could help us to also release ourselves from anything blocking us to our wisdom? And so I just got memory clearing. Memory clearing is the name of this chart. And the note I have on here is it describes our role as creator and our relationship to divine source. So our creator consciousness, what percent are we open to our creator consciousness? 0%. What percent are we blocked to our creator consciousness? 100%. So do you accept your own divinity? That's the question I have on this chart. Again, if you're somebody who has a pendulum and a number chart in front of you, ask the percentage. What percent am I open to my own divinity? What percent am I open to my role as the divine creator? You know, being blocked to your own role as a divine being is blocking you to your wisdom, is what this is saying. Being blocked to your wisdom is blocking you from releasing all of these outdated beliefs, these outdated inheritance, these outdated energies that are keeping you from that life force energy, that is keeping you then from releasing the illness energy. So, yeah. And I think that's, for a lot of us, this isn't anything we've done wrong. Being blocked to your divine creator energy, being blocked to the belief that you are a divine creator is not, almost 100% of the time, it is not because of you. It's because of what you've been taught. It's because of what we've all been taught. It's about what's going on in society. It's about, you know, the religious systems of our world, the educational systems of our world, the political systems of our world, trying to convince us that there is some kind of hierarchy, that there is some kind of, you know, system of someone is always better than you. Someone is always not more knowledgeable than you. Someone is always more powerful than you. Our current human dynamic here on this planet really thrives off of hierarchy and power dynamics. And those are not benefiting you because it is convincing you that you are not an authority figure in your own life. That you are not an authority figure that has the power to move illness energy out of your life, that you are not an authority figure that has the power to, you know, reprogram your own mind and to know what you want and to know who you are and to know what you're capable of. If you believed how capable you were, if you knew that you were a divine creator, I guarantee you, you would not be able to be controlled in the way that our society currently controls you. and it's like people who were born into power have no problem believing that they're powerful because that's what they were born into. That's the story they've been told their whole lives, so they don't question it. They don't doubt it because that's what they were born into. But most of us were not born into power. And so we struggle with that, especially because we weren't born into it. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel inherent, but it is. You just have to believe it to be so. You just have to believe it to be so. And shifting your mindset into believing that you are capable and powerful enough to move illness energy out of your life and call in a great life force for you, energy, creative power will change your very life. And the question is, are you open to that change? Are you open to receiving greater good? Are you open to releasing your desire to suffer? Those are all those sort of side components here as well. So that's something to think about. We just got a new high self committee. So all of us are getting downloaded with a new high self committee, or our high self committee is getting cleared and released from anything blocking us to our wisdom, to the knowledge and the truth that we are divine creators, and that we have access to beautiful inherent wisdom that can help us move out of the illness energy and into life energy. And you can think about what life energy means to you. It might mean something different for everybody, but for me, life energy is like the stuff that does help us move crap out of the way. When I'm doing Reiki on someone, I am calling on life energy to just move through them, to move the muck out of the way, to move the blocks out of the way, to, reinvigorate their cells. That is what I'm calling upon. That's the life energy that I'm seeing here that we're talking about, is just life force, the spirit and the energy that animates us all. That is life, the spirit and the energy that animates us all. That is what we're calling in for you today. So if you're somebody who has felt less than animated lately, again, deficient, devoid, lacking in energy and zest, this is for you. This is what we're working on for you today. So now I'm going to ask, what percent have we cleared all of those blocks out of the way? 100%. Now what percent are we open to our life force? 100%. What percent are we open to believing ourselves as creators? What percent are we open to our divine plan? What percent are we open to our wisdom? This is all 100%, so that's great. So now we're going to do 100% of 100% of mop up, which is what we say to just say, hey, anything that we might have missed, anything that didn't get talked about in this clearing, we're still asking to just have it looked at and resolved for us. And then we call in the new energies. We know one of those new energies is life, but is there anything else we want to call in today? Health. Of course it's health, right? We're calling in health in place of illness. And that's it for today, folks. Hi. All right. Well, thanks for being here. Why don't we drop back in for a second? Finding ourselves right back here in this very present moment, not worrying about yesterday, not thinking about tomorrow. Trusting and believing that what we choose to do right now in this moment really does have a long-standing impact on the rest of our lives. You can change your very life today by opening yourself up to your wisdom, opening yourself up to the truth that you are a divine creator, opening yourself up to the fact that you are worthy of goodness and life and energy and joy. Okay. If you would like to book a one-to-one session with me, you can find me at www.thepointedstone.com. I would love to talk to you about any blocks you might be having in your life, anything that is just causing you to feel stuck, icky, obsessive, any relationship attachment issues you're having right now, we can work on that. Any career blocks you're having, we can work on that. I really do appreciate SRT for relationship dynamics, not just love relationships, but relationships in general. I've used it a lot anytime I'm struggling with someone in my life, and it's just like the dynamic just doesn't make sense. There's friction, there's issues, there's lack of ease. SRT has been life-changing for me in working through that stuff. So I really hope that y'all are open to the beautiful work that SRT can do in your life, and reach out if you're feeling called to. All right. Thanks again for being here, and we will see you next time on another episode of Clearing with Kate.